it always starts with mindset. Because if you have the wrong mindset, you're not going to last through the learning curve long enough to develop the skill set, becoming the person who is able to do the thing. That's the hardest part. An entrepreneur is one who solves problems for other people for profit. One, you have to be aware of problems. Two, you have to have enough mental acuity to solve them. Three, you have to care enough about the people who have the problem and the problem itself to obsess over solving it long enough to figure out how to solve it. And then you have to be a clear enough communicator to communicate to the people with the problem that you found the best possible solution for that problem. All of those things are necessary. And I think one of the reasons so many entrepreneurs struggle in business is because they may be good at one of those, and they may think that being good at one of those things, that it should be enough. So if I can find a big pool of people with a painful problem and deep enough pockets to pay to solve that problem, and I can find an elegant, efficient, effective solution for that problem, but I have to be able to tell them in a way that causes them to believe it, it would be very, very hard for me not to get rich as an entrepreneur. And income follows assets. If you don't have assets, then your income is limited. You're your only asset. So you go to work for a day, you get a day's pay. But when you begin to acquire and build and accumulate assets, those assets have income following. The hardest part of making millions of dollars and being successful in business, the hardest part is you becoming the person who has enough intestinal fortitude and grit to go down into the cave and obsess over this problem long enough to find an elegant, effortless, effective solution. For anyone that the first time they flip the coin of work that it lands on heads, I would not wish that for anybody.
Interesting.
Because if I don't stay in a place where the work is not working for me, but it's working on me long enough, I might have that success, but it's gonna more than likely be a flash in the pan success. Part of the reason I believe that God ordained that we go from just enough to not enough, and then finally to more than enough, is because if we went straight from just enough to more than enough without going through not enough, we wouldn't be strong enough to stay in more than enough when we get there. So we have to be yielded enough to how life works, to the principles of life, to truth, to let the work on us until the work that it's doing on us is complete. So now I'm mature enough. That's why and I'm sure you've probably seen this, you might interview some young millionaires who are in their 20s and they've made millions of dollars and they're still miserable and frustrated. Why? Because they worked on something that worked for them, but it didn't work on them long enough for them to learn that just making a lot of money by itself does not bring fulfillment. They find a very, very large pool of people with a very, very, very painful problem, deep enough pockets to be able to pay to solve that problem, and then they obsess over solving that problem for those people, and then they obsess over figuring out the best possible way to communicate clearly, I have the best solution for this problem. That's the whole thing. Because if you think about it, if you are if you're a golfer and you're a 15 handicap, and somebody figures out how to go from 15, right, how to go from a 15 handicap down to a 4 handicap, it's only going to take you 30 days. If you have that solution, because we know golfers have deep pockets, even the broke golfers have deep pockets if they play golf. I mean, a box of Pro V1s costs $60, right? That's for 12 golf balls. So they have deep pockets to some degree. So if you solve that problem, if I'm willing to pay $60 for a box of golf balls that I'm gonna hit into the woods, I'd be willing to pay $600 to learn how not to hit the $60 worth of golf balls into the woods. Right? So if I can find a big pool of people with a painful problem and deep enough pockets pay to solve that problem, and I can find an elegant, efficient, effective solution for that problem, but I have to be able to tell them in a way that causes them to believe it, it would be very, very hard for me not to get rich as an entrepreneur. One of the most amazing success principles I've ever discovered, I found it in Genesis chapter 1, the first book in the Bible, first chapter in the Bible. It has so many success principles. And I did an entire YouTube video for 2 hours just uncovering success principles in Genesis chapter 1. So here's what's really amazing. The first thing that God established was the platform. And the platform was time, space, and matter. Time, space, and matter are the boundaries. They are our constraints as human beings who live on this planet in this time, right? Time, space, and matter. Everything that we do and everything we experience is bound by time, space, and matter, right? So God set up time, space, and matter. When? Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, there's time. Time began right there. God created the heavens, that's space, and the earth, that's matter. So time, space, and matter. That's the platform. The next thing that we see in Genesis chapter 1, God gave the parameters. This is the first thing God ever said to man. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. So he said, be fruitful. And then he said, multiply. Well, multiply is not a be. Now, he didn't state the verb. The verb would be do multiply. Multiply is something you do, right? And then do replenish, and then do subdue, and then the last thing he said was have dominion. So here are the parameters. Be, do, that was actually do, have. Be, do, have. Okay, so it's be, do, have. Those are the parameters. Well, if you look at the platform and you put it right beside the parameters, they match. What does that mean? Well, being is the parameter that can only happen on the platform of time. Anything I'm going to become that I'm not already, it's going to take time. I have a 6-year-old granddaughter. I don't chuck her the keys to my car and say, hey, run over to Publix and get us a loaf of bread and some peanut butter and some jelly so we can eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Not because she's stupid, she's not stupid. Not because she's incapable, she's very capable. But because she's not yet become a person who can drive a car. And if she's gonna become a person who can drive a car, regardless of how smart she is, regardless of how astute she is. She could have a 300 IQ at 6 years old, she still can't drive a car. Why? Because if she's sitting on the driver's seat, she can't see over the dashboard. And that's how life works. The purpose of time is to become more than we've been being. And we have to yield to time and let time turn us into what only time can turn us into. That's number one, okay? Space is the platform for doing. If I'm going to do anything, I need space. If I'm all wrapped up in cellophane and all taped up with duct tape, I can't do anything. Why? I don't have any space around me. So I need some space. And then the last thing is have. So the purpose of time is being, the purpose of space is doing, the purpose of matter is having. The reason matter exists is so we can have it. Why? That's the reward for becoming the person who is willing to do the thing. Now, here's what's fascinating to me, that God, in his infinite wisdom, put in our hearts a desire to have more. We want to have a nicer car. We want to have more money in the bank. We want to have more health in our body. We want to have better relationships. We have an intense, immense desire to have. God said, you can have as much as you'd like as long as you are willing to do the right thing in order to have it. And so what do? We think that the answer to the havingness that we desire is the doingness of the activity that other people have done that have gotten them the having. And so what happens is we attempt to do what they did. Only problem is our assignment's not their assignment. So when we attempt to do what they did, we can't do it. The hardest part of making millions of dollars and being successful in business is becoming the person who is able to do the thing. That's the hardest part. Hardest part's not doing things that'll make you $1 million. That's not the hardest part. Finding there being a big enough pool of people with a painful enough problem. That's not the hard part. The hardest part is you becoming the person who has enough intestinal fortitude and grit to go down into the laboratory, the cave, right? The drawing board, whatever you want to call it, and obsess over this problem long enough to find an elegant, effortless, effective solution. That's the part. Because most people don't have enough intestinal fortitude, they don't have enough stick-to-itiveness, they don't have enough grit to last through the learning curve, to become the person who can do the thing that makes them deserve to have the stuff. You can have as much as you'd like, as long as you are willing to do the right thing in order to have it. People who attempt to have without doing, you know what we call them? We call them criminals, right? I want to have this thing, but I'm unwilling to do the right thing. I'm unwilling to go do the work to have the money, so I'll rob a bank. We call those people criminals. They want to have, but they're unwilling to do. People who are willing to do and don't have, we call them frustrated. Why? Because they've not become the person. They're frustrated because they're willing to do the work, but the work they're doing isn't producing the outcome they desire. Why? Because they haven't gone down in the dirt and done the dirty work. Be a little, do a little, do a little, have a little. Be a lot, do a lot, do a lot, have a lot. It's how everything in life works. Everyone has more bandwidth than they think they have, and they're capable of more than they think they're capable of, right? Your capacity and your ability are never the same. Your capacity is always greater than your ability. The principle is this: disruption always follows intention. That's principle number one. When you decide to do something good, the first thing that shows up is something hard. Okay? But if you keep on going, even when it's hard, eventually that I can't will turn into I can't stop. Repetitive use of a limited ability will always produce an increased capacity. So I keep doing what I can't do until I can't stop doing it. And then I have become a different person. So I have a formula: MS times SS times TS equals assets. What does that mean? And income follows assets. And by the way, income follows assets is a phrase I got from Daniel Priestley, so I'm gonna give him full credit for that. Income follows assets, and Daniel's brilliant. If you don't have assets, then your income is limited. You're your only asset. So you go to work for a day, you get a day's pay. But when you begin to acquire and build and accumulate assets, those assets have income following them, right? So what is MS times SS times TS? Mindset times skill set times tool set equals assets. And so it always starts with mindset, because if you have the wrong mindset, you're not gonna last through the learning curve long enough to develop the skill set. I got started in sales October of 1985, selling insurance and investments in a financial services company. Guess what? I was so bad. It took me 18 months to make my first sale, and I did a lot of presentations in that 18 months. People said, well, why didn't you quit? I didn't have a plan B. I had to learn how to do this. It was the only arena I had ever seen where anybody was making $10,000 a month. In 1985, $10,000 a month was a fortune. I didn't know anybody else making $10,000 a month. I wasn't making $10,000 a year. But I met somebody who was making $10,000 a month, selling insurance and investments, and building a team of insurance and investment agents on that team. Oh, I'm gonna do this. And so I didn't give up because I didn't have anything else to do. So I'm gonna figure this thing out. I finally made my first sale in April of 1987. Within a couple of months of that time period, I was the top salesman in our office every month. How did you do that? Easy. I lasted through the learning curve long enough to find all the ways that wouldn't work to make a sale. All I had left was ways that would. When I found the ways that would work to make a sale, I put those things on rinse and repeat. Too many entrepreneurs find something that works and they get bored with it. When I find something that works, I don't get bored with it, I get paid with it. I put that thing on rinse and repeat so fast, you'll think I was a water faucet.
Can we go that 18-month stretch? I feel like that,
Sure.
That's an easy story to talk about now, but I can imagine being in that 18-month stretch. I mean, that's a grind, and that's not just a grind that like feels like, okay, I'm gonna wake up early today and work hard. No, that's like life being hard.
You don't know it's not going to be 36 months in the 17th month.
Exactly, and
you just know I am going to do this until. See, some people don't have an until mentality. They're gonna work on it until they get tired. They're gonna work on it until somebody shows them another shiny object, but they're not gonna work on it until they figure it out. But anyway, go ahead. What was your question about
I think this is so fascinating. I'm going off script here, but I'm fascinated by those kind of 18 months because you say you didn't have plan B. And I think, a lot of people would say they don't have plan E, or plan B, but reality forces a life B where it's like, now I needed to get a different job because I needed to pay bills, and now I'm tired and I come home at the end of the night and I don't have space in my life or capacity or slack.
Right.
What does that person do who had all the right intentions, life forced them down a different path, and now they're feeling like they don't have slack?
Everyone has more bandwidth than they think they have, and they're capable of more than they think they're capable of. You are capable of more than you are able to do, right? Your capacity and your ability are never the same. Your capacity is always greater than your ability. And so by continuing to put in work and effort in a limited ability, okay, I would do the illustration right here, but sometimes when I'm doing a seminar, I will talk about how disruption always follows intention. And I remember when I was out of shape, I used to weigh 225 pounds, which is, what is that? That's 45 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Okay.
And I remember I would drive the golf cart up to the tee box, walk up on the tee box, take 3 practice swings, and feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. I'm like, with 3 practice swings. I'm like, no, this ain't it. This ain't how we going out. We ain't doing this. We ain't gonna have a heart attack on the 3rd tee, because I can't, no, this is a hard no. And I decided I was gonna get back in shape. And I started working out. And the first thought that came to me when I started working out was, you fool. Who told you this was gonna work? And so I decided I was gonna start doing push-ups. Well, when I was young, I could do 100 push-ups without thinking about it. Well, I get started again, I can't do 30. And maybe day 1 I can do 13. But day 2 I can only do 8. We're going in the wrong direction. This is clearly not working, but it is working. It's just not working for me yet. It's working on me. And so the principle is this: disruption always follows intention. That's principle number 1. Disruption always follows intention. When you decide to do something good, the first thing that shows up is something hard. Okay? But if you keep on going, even when it's hard, eventually that I can't will turn into I can't stop. Now I could probably do 70 push-ups now if I wanted to. Like, I could probably drop and do 70 push-ups without even thinking about stopping. And I'm 63, I'll be 64 next Wednesday, right? Like, I woke up this morning, as I do almost every morning. I don't on Saturdays generally, and I didn't yesterday, but like, I wake up at 5 o'clock. The first thing I do is I get on the assault bike for 30 minutes. And then 3 times a week, I'll put on my weighted vest, and I'll do reverse pull-ups. So I'll pull myself up and hold myself there as long as I can and let myself down. I'll do reverse pull-ups, I'll do reverse dips. Like, I have this whole routine that I do. But when I first started working out, I couldn't even do 30 push-ups. Well, how did I go from not being able to do 30, only doing 13, the next day only doing 8, and now I could do 70 without even thinking about it? Because this principle is so beautiful. Repetitive use of a limited ability will always produce an increased capacity. Repetitive use of a limited ability will always produce an increased capacity. So I keep doing what I can't do until I can't stop doing it. And then I have become a different person. Now, here's what that means. When I first started working out, when I was 225 pounds, I was fat and weak. Now, I have become a person who is lean and strong, even though I'm 30 years older. What I say to the person who says, but I have no bandwidth left, good, now you intensify.
Wow. I can imagine what that would feel like hearing that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, easy for you to say, bro.
Yeah.
Is it easy for me to say? I'm 63, soon to be 64 years old. Like, I get my heart racing every morning. Yeah. I cold plunge multiple times per week. Is it easy for me to say? Yes, it's easy for me to say. Do you know why it's easy for me to say? Because I've done the hard stuff. I did it when it was hard. That's when I do something that's hard consistently and persistently, that's what makes it easy for me to say. And everybody, if it's hard for somebody to hear, that's when you need to hear it most. If you just trust the process, that the process will do what only the process can do, eventually what's hard for you to hear will become easy for you to do.
Can I ask a different version of this? Because I'm fascinated by this idea of leadership.
Please do.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by this idea of leadership. And leadership to me is the ability to create inflection points. Now, that comes with a tricky question. One is...
Define what you mean when you say inflection points, if you don't mind, just so I can be with you. I don't want to get left behind.
Sure. Imagine, if I keep doing the same thing, I'm not going to reach the destination I want. Leadership is the ability to create that turn in the road to point somewhere else. Okay. Now, where that gets tricky is... when do I know this is the moment to just grit my teeth and keep going forward? Because that actually is where I want to go. Versus I'm getting enough cues because I've done all the things you've asked. I've worked on the roots. I've been willing to work hard. I have been working hard. I've been doubling down, and it's still not working. Like, is the choice to keep going, or is this a moment to actually take some feedback and pivot?
It could be either.
Okay.
And I don't know how to answer. I don't know how to answer that for individuals. I will say this though. I think one of the reasons people give up on something that would have worked for them and has been working on them, oftentimes is the fact they have goals and they think they know when it's supposed to happen. Right? And because it didn't happen when, it's not that it didn't work that they have a problem with. It didn't work in the time that they allotted themselves. But see, I'm probably the only so-called teacher person, so-called guru. I don't think of myself as a guru, but a so-called guru. That will ever tell you that setting goals is a bad idea, in my opinion, right? And the reason I believe setting goals is a bad idea is because setting goals says, I want to have this outcome by this time. Well, I can look at the outcome and I can determine that I'd like to have that outcome. But if the next thing I do is set a time for that, I'm setting myself up for disaster. When I look at an outcome and I look at it, that's an outcome I desire to have. What I do is I reverse engineer, backwards extrapolate all of the inputs that I can discover that will produce that output. And then I make those inputs my routine. And then I trust that that output will happen when the gestation period of the seeds of those inputs that I'm planting, it's time for them to come to fruition. And I don't get to determine when that is. I just get to determine that I'm going to be the person who keeps on doing that until it shows up. And I'm going to tell you something. I was an entrepreneur for 14 years before I had my first six-figure year. Now, some people say, well, that's too long. 14 years was going to go by anyway. I was going to be making some amount at the end of 14 years. Now, I'm not saying it has to take everybody 14 years, but that's what it was. That's what it took me. Now, would it have been nice had it taken less time? Sure. Would it have been better? I'm not sure. If it had happened sooner, I may have gotten some results that were from one thing that I was doing, or that came from one thing that I was doing, but I wasn't aware that I was doing that thing. I was aware of something else. And so because correlation is not always causation, and oftentimes we think it is, I think the result came from one thing, but it actually came from something else. And so now I've misappropriated and misassigned what actually caused me to be successful, which is why people can have success once and they think they know how they became successful, and then they change I want to go do something else, I'm bored, and then the next 17 things they do flop. Because correlation does not always equal causation. And so they thought they knew the reason they succeeded, when the real reason they succeeded, they were the right person doing the right thing at the right time at the right place, and it was a crescendo.